And we have this diagram here to help you understand the relationship between the different types of controls in the IT environment. Now, first off, you'll notice this rain of orange balls. Now, although they may look fairly innocuous, I want you to think of these as undesirable events. These are all the bad things that could happen, right? All the things we could conceive of happening. And our mission is to try our best to make sure none of them reach the bottom. If it makes you feel a little more involved in the situation, let's say you're standing at the bottom of the cylinder. You don't want any of those balls to hit you on the head, so you want to make sure that all those controls that are above you, trying to hold those balls in check, make sure they don't hit your head, are well designed and well placed. So the first line of defense, and the most important, which is why you'll see here as we build the diagram, it's in the largest font, is preventative controls. The reason this is so important is that the more effective our preventative controls are, the less important having the other two types becomes, because simply fewer orange balls are going to make it through that first barrier. We're not going to need to catch as many. Now the second layer is detective controls. Smaller text indicating, well, it's still important, but not as critical, not as prevalent as preventative controls. But their idea is to detect a mistake once it's taken place. So you can see here that most of the orange balls were held above the preventative layer, but a few got through. Hopefully the detective layer will catch most, if not all of those, but a few more still could get through. And that brings us to the final layer. That's corrective controls. Smallest font indicating these are the ones that you hope you barely ever have to use, because in a lot of cases that means your customer's complaining, your suppliers are complaining, someone's not happy with you because an error not only happened, but was not detected once it did happen. This is the cost and dealing with the fix. But as long as those three controls are operating in tandem, the idea being that none of those undesirable events will get through. Now, can we guarantee that? No. You can't eliminate risk. There's always that chance. And that's why you see in the diagram that each of those layers of controls has a hole. There's always an opportunity. There's always a way that some of those are going to slip through. If you were an auditor, you'd say that's the whole point of reasonable assurance. I won't give you a guarantee. I can't. There's always a chance something's going to get through. Now, bear in mind, controls can be manual or automatic, meaning they could be built into the system design or they could be a human being helping to carry them out. But it's worth noting, no control is perfect. No control can be designed to be impervious or beyond any fallibility. Maybe your workers don't have the appropriate training, so the problem wasn't the control, it's who's carrying them out. Perhaps your segregation of duties is not as good as it could be. Maybe management has the capability to override a well-designed control. The one that always gives an auditor pause, collusion. Even with good segregation of duties, what if two people in two disparate areas decide to work together to commit a fraud? And finally, the inherent limitations. Part of internal control is understanding it's not perfect. And you have to understand that when you look at internal control, that no matter how well designed or how many you may have in place, it's not 100% guaranteed.